Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. I'm Zach.
And I'm Courtney.
And we are a thankful couple.
We sure are. It's hard to believe Thanksgiving and the holidays are already here.
It is. What is the one thing that you're most thankful for this year?
Oh, I'm thankful for a lot of things. Obviously, I'm thankful for my new coming baby that's coming in February. So that's an exciting thing.
That's the big one?
That's the big one.
Sounds pretty big. Okay. Well, I'm thankful that you're thankful, so. Ha! All right. So today, we always say that we have an exciting show. Are you actually excited about it?
It's exciting, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm excited you're
Okay.
here. I haven't been with you in a while on the morning show.
That's true. It's probably been quite a few weeks. But you won't be here with me next week. Josh will.
I will not be.
Okay. Well, we'll celebrate without you anyway. Post-Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, madness. Are you going shopping this weekend?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Like you really don't know
Like
yet?
online, I'll definitely shop, but I don't know if I'll go in the stores.
Okay. I have to buy a Christmas tree tomorrow
Good luck with
to
that.
put up on Friday. All right. Well, we do have an exciting show for you, at least I think so. We're going to talk about organization, which I'm very poor at. I'm sure you'll point that out as we go throughout the episode. It's kind of a running joke here in the office, how poor I am at that. And we're also going to take a look inside of a shop that we went to, a couple pictures from that, a little preview of the Blueprint episode, which is going to launch on this Wednesday.
Yep, just in time for Thanksgiving. So if you're looking for something to do over the holiday weekend, we're launching our Stahls TV Blueprint. So exciting episode. We're going to kind of go, or I guess you and Josh went into a shop and really kind of help them with some challenges they were having. And so it's a great opportunity to see some successful applications for your business. What were they doing wrong that maybe we were able to fix for them, and kind of an exciting initiative for us for sure.
So much excitement this morning. It's a very hands-on episode. We get into some details on heat printing, solving some major problems that the business has, and that is just part one of multiple parts of a series that we're going to be releasing. So I would encourage you to watch that. It's the Stahls TV Blueprint series launching this Wednesday.
Yep, so if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get a notification on Wednesday when it goes live, and then also it'll be available on stahlstv.com.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at our look of the week.
Yeah, so look of the week this time is from Katie in Tennessee, and this design we brought out for a couple of reasons. Like with a look of the week, we always love being inspired by things, and wraparound prints and unique placements are something that really inspire me. So being able to see that E for engine element really taken around the garment was just a huge plus for me, which is really awesome to see the way she took that design and changed it up a little bit.
How do you think Katie applied that wraparound print? Do we have a class on that or a couple videos?
We have a couple of videos on wraparound prints. The way I would do it is I would certainly, depending on if there's a seam or not, I would use a heat printing pillow if there was a seam. But I would try to press all that on one application. So kind of turn the shirt sideways on my platen and then press everything together there. And that's obviously multiple layers of heat transfer vinyl mixed and matched together to create that full color effect.
Yeah, I think we counted 5 or 6 different colors with a mix between Stahls Fashion Film and Stahls Premium Plus CAD cut materials. I like the look. I think it's very wearable, especially for a young boy. Basically, like my kids would wear that for sure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows kind of the different of things that you can do with heat transfer vinyl, really getting creative with mixing and matching different colors to create a full color effect. So even 5, 6 colors isn't out of the realm of possibilities on what you can do. She didn't direct layer any of it, so it doesn't add a lot of bulk to the garment. Still creates a really soft single color effect, or a single feel effect on the garment. Yeah, so
great job on that, Katie. If you would like to submit to be featured as the look of the week, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. First, you can email your look to tv@stahls.com. You can also submit to the Stahls Show and Tell, which happens on the Stahls All Things Heat Printing Facebook page. You can also post on Instagram and tag @Stahls TV to be entered into the Look of the Week contest. Now, you don't really win anything besides a feature here on the Stahls TV Morning Show to all of our viewers, but I think that's enough.
It is
something
absolutely.
to be thankful
something to share your design for sure.
Okay. All right. So I took a little bit of time last week to add a segment to a series that we're doing here on the Stahls TV Morning Show, 7 markets that you should be selling apparel to. So the one that I wanted to talk about last week was local businesses. Local business is everywhere. It is the foundation of pretty much every small town, I think, across the United States, and it's a market that you should be selling apparel to. So take a few minutes and see what we have to say about selling to local business. Welcome to this installment of 7 markets you should be selling to. Today, we're going to talk about local businesses. Local businesses are really everywhere around you. I'm guessing you, yourself, operate as a local business. Here's how we're defining local businesses. 1, they are independently owned and operated. 2, they traditionally have lower budgets and less employees than a corporation. Think somewhere around 2 to 50 employees for a local business. But the best thing about local business is that they face the same challenges that you are facing when it comes to gaining and growing business. So that means you should really be able to relate to the businesses around you. The key to selling to local businesses, especially apparel, is figuring out why they need to buy it. There could be a number of reasons. We'll cover 3 today. 1, they may be buying apparel to outfit or uniform their employees. Or maybe they're buying apparel for sale to their customers to actually make a profit off of the apparel that they're going to buy from you. 3, they may be using it for marketing or brand awareness. This is what we would call traditionally a promotional product. So understanding the why behind their potential purchase will lead you to present the right products. For example, if a local business is looking for a uniform for their employees, you need to consider their brand and their logo when beginning to pitch a sale. A local restaurant may have a specific feel or experience that they're trying to create. You wouldn't want to go into an upscale restaurant and suggest they buy t-shirts, or go into a casual restaurant and suggest they buy button-ups from you. If the local business is going to resell the apparel to their customers, you still need to keep their brand in mind, but your pitch to them might focus on the profit potential of a particular garment style. For example, a high profit item would be performance wear that you have decorated with heat printing. If their goal is marketing and brand awareness, t-shirts are still the most worn item in America. And bags also provide a very functional option that their customers will continue to use year after year, resulting in ongoing promotion. So what's the best way to reach local businesses? First, you need to go where they are. Join your local chamber of commerce or other local small business community group and start networking with the folks that you want to sell to. We also recently finished an election season, and if you think about how all of the local people who were running for office reached their demographic, it was probably through yard signs. So order 25 to 50 yard signs with a clear message of who you are, what you do, and how to reach you, and put them in very high traffic areas. Also, you can go the more traditional route. Pick up the phone or stop in to your local businesses, or better yet, do both. Introduce yourself and your business with a very clear script that demonstrates the unique value you can provide to your local partners. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and start building relationships that sell more apparel.
That was quite the segment there, sharing some tips on local businesses. I think the restaurant, the hospitality industry is one that decorators don't really think about, but there's a great opportunity not only to print the employee apparel, but to print some ongoing revenue and printing their t-shirts and sweatshirts and things for them to sell to their customers. So
yeah,
great
especially
tips
ones
there.
with a great brand or local following.
Yeah,
makes a lot of
absolutely.
sense for them.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to launch a poll to you. The bulk of today's episode is about shop organization and storage, and basically how to do things more efficiently and more effectively. So what we'd like to know from you, our viewers, this morning is how many of you currently keep or maintain an inventory of vinyl or screen printed transfers? So we'll give you a few seconds to weigh in on that. For those of you who are watching through the GoToWebinar client, you can answer that question. If you're watching on Facebook Live and you'd like to be able to answer these questions in the future, you can register at stahlstv.com for our live events and watch through our GoToWebinar client as well. So we'll give you just a few more seconds. Joe will close it down and give us the results of the poll on how many of you are currently keeping an inventory of heat transfer vinyl or screen printed transfers. All right, Joe, what do we have?
Okay, so we had 65% of our viewers do keep an inventory, 35% do not.
Okay. 65% of us keep an inventory and 35% of us do not. I think the tips and tricks that we're going to share with you here this morning will benefit both ways, because even if you're not formally keeping an inventory of vinyl or screen printed transfers, I'm sure you have leftovers at some point that need or you could benefit from organizing those things, or even as your shop grows and you begin to keep inventory. All right, so let's talk about vinyl first, because that's where Stahls really, at least the Stahls ID division is the specialist, and where we spend a lot of our time here is inventorying vinyl, cutting vinyl, reordering vinyl. It's vinyl all over the place here, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So what are some of the big tips, Courtney, on organizing your heat transfer vinyl?
I think here at the Stahls TV studios, we have struggled with vinyl storage for quite some time because we stock so many colors and varieties, and I think that's something that a lot of different decorators do have that challenge. And so the first thing really is how you store your products. So where do you place them? There's a few different solutions that we found successful. For a while, we used a filing cabinet system where we could store products and label the outside of the filing cabinet for each product type, because the challenge with vinyl traditionally is there's multiple types of vinyl, there's multiple colors of vinyl, and so that worked really well for us to separate the types of vinyl that we had. The challenge then became color. So it was hard for us to see if we had a color, or if we knew where the color was in which filing cabinet, if there were multiples for a product. So being able to have something that made it visible was really good for us. So we actually got a wall display that allows us to stick the pegs of the material on there. There's also floor displays that do that as well.
Okay, yeah, so wall racks and floor racks are really good for high volume shops, for sure. As you said, with the filing cabinet method, you don't have a great visual on what's actually in stock. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, probably in a little bit, about keeping inventory, but keeping things on a wall rack or on a floor rack gives you the ability to just walk by and not necessarily stop and kind of see visually what you have in stock. Most shops probably aren't inventorying more than maybe 3 or 4 different types of vinyl. I wouldn't think. You have your go-tos, you have your thermofilm for the sporting goods, you have your premium plus for your performance wear, you have your fashion film for t-shirts, and maybe you're doing some special effects stuff with glitter or flock, which can probably sit in the same area. That also, by separating that way, gives you an idea of how much value is in your inventory as well. You know your glitter and your flock is 2 times more expensive than your standard vinyl, so you can get just a quick estimate on what you have sitting in inventory, what you have invested, and what you need to sell. One of the really great things about the Blueprint shop visit that we did, that again is launching on Wednesday at stahlstv.com, Moose's, one of the best things that we found about their shop was their organization. And it actually kind of inspired us to take some pictures and share with you what we found. So here's how they were storing vinyl. They were using wall racks and floor racks primarily. They were using floor racks for the heavier rolls, specifically like the 30-inch wide rolls that were going on their print and cut machines. A lot of sign vinyl is what you see there in the picture, but they were also using wall racks as well. They had additional tools to address a couple of problems that you have, even with the ideal solution of a wall rack or a floor rack. Do you want to talk more about a couple of those?
Yeah, and so the one thing you'll notice, the pink clips or pink and orange clips on the outside of a lot of the rolls, that was used to keep the vinyl together. And so one challenge when you're storing vinyl in a cabinet or in a setting like this is the vinyl rolls coming undone and unraveling. And so a lot of people will use tape or rubber bands to keep them together. But the rubber bands tend to keep put like a marking in the material, which can cause some waste, or even the tape, depending on the strength of the tape that you're using, can peel up some of the material or cause some issues that will cause you to have to cut that piece off and have a little extra waste. So those clips were incredibly easy for them to use, and also able to store them without having all those issues.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of the folks at Stahls, especially in the sales organization, walk into a lot of shops over the course of a year. Myself and Josh went to this particular shop, and we've been in a lot over the course of our career here at Stahls. That was the first time that we saw those clips. And Moose's just figured that out from starting in the sign industry and picking up some of the tips, tricks, and tools that they use for sign vinyl and just applying it to heat transfer vinyl.
Yeah, and I think that's something with the heat transfer vinyl industry that we can learn a lot from, because a lot of the sign vinyl supply companies do have solutions for clips and labeling and stuff like that.
Yeah, so even if you're not buying sign vinyl from them, you can look to them for some of those tools and accessories for storage. The other really cool thing that I thought Moose has had, we're talking a lot about visuals, is the label insert that they used for their rolls. You can see it there on screen. So when you open up a roll that comes from Stahls, or pretty much from any supplier, I would imagine, you get a label on the inside of the roll that's basically taped on there. It's just an adhesive patch that's on there. Moose has picked up these dry erase labels that they can write the material type, they can write the supplier that it's from. If somebody needs to reorder that isn't the person who maybe is normally doing that, they have the color on there as well. You can add whatever details you want in the space provided, but it's very easy to not have to walk all the way up to the rack. Maybe if somebody loaded the roll backwards to where the label's on the other side. I know Courtney had a history of doing that early in her career here and was instructed properly by our video production manager, Joe. But this, again, easy visual, saves you time just walking by, seeing what's on the shelf.
Yeah, making sure you're grabbing the right roll and all of that. So roll storage is obviously an important aspect of it, but another bigger thing or bigger challenge, I guess, to jump over when it comes to vinyl is storage of scraps and extra pieces, because we tend to always have a 10-inch or a 5-inch piece and we don't want to throw that stuff away. So how do we successfully store something like that, and making sure it's organized is always a challenge.
And I'm going to pose that question right back to you, because I'm awful at storing scraps. I used to work in the cutting department at the Stahls Decorating Center, and it was one of our biggest challenges. Even as what we would consider professional decorators, we had trouble storing scraps, especially we were cutting twill, we were cutting heat transfer vinyl, we were cutting sign vinyl, a lot of different things happening. So how do you recommend storing scraps?
And just what you're explaining there is kind of how I would sort it up. So I would sort my heat transfer vinyl by product category. You can do it two different ways, by product category or by color. I tend to find that by product category you'll be more successful, because you're not mixing and matching different materials that might have different applications or different cut settings. So having a literature rack system or a Rubbermaid type of drawer system where you could easily store the products. Of course, add a label on the outside so you know what products are in each drawer. That way I know if I have something that's going on a cotton t-shirt, I can go to my fashion film drawer and I can sort through the colors that I have in there and see if I have something that fits for that design.
One of the, that actually just brought to mind, and we didn't really talk about this in rehearsal at all, but one of the things that brings to mind is designing for the scrap. So how does somebody design for scrap? Because that also was a big problem. So we had our scrap pieces organized. One of them's a 4x6, one of them's a 7x13, one of them's a 3x9. How do you do design work for those scrap pieces?
Well, I think just having a vinyl cutter that actually can measure the width and the length of the material, so making sure once you've created that design and you drop it into your cut software, it'll fit on that scrap is a big plus. But being able to save scraps in dimensions that you know you're going to cut. Your t-shirt designs are always going to be 10 inches or 12 inches, or your left chest logos are going to be 4 inches. So saving a scrap that's 5 inches, which gives you enough space to have some waste on the outside and room to cut.
And I know I asked you this question earlier, and I have trouble, self-admittedly, with organization and finding the value in organizing ahead of time to save time on the back end. What do you think this type of organization saves you as a business owner in a decorating business?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits of being organized. Obviously, if I don't have my roll storage organized and I'm spending 10 minutes searching for the blue glitter flake that I know I have a 5-yard roll on, I'm either not going to be able to find it and have to order another roll, and then a month later find it somewhere stored in the back, maybe up behind some garments or in another area. So now I've added extra inventory and extra cost to my business I didn't need to. The other thing is you've just wasted 10 minutes of your time that could have been weeding or could have been spent cutting or weeding or applying products where you've been searching for things.
Good point.
There's always a benefit to
There's
organization.
always a benefit to organization. I'll have to remember that. Okay, so that kind of covers us on vinyl storage. We've talked about roll vinyl, we've talked about scrap vinyl. What about screen printed transfers or transfer papers or something similar to that fit or form in your shop?
Yeah, so there's different ways to store screen printed transfers, even having that system that we talked about for scraps with literature racks or a Rubbermaid storage container. That's a big tool that you can use that's really easy to sort and label. A lot of transfers tend to come in boxes, so Transfer Express sends each order in a box like this where I can easily label on the front end maybe the job name or the heat transfer product or any information I want to remember for reordering or knowing this is the product that's in this box. I can even store accessories like we see here in this craft paper Stahls box that we have on blue. I mean, these boxes allow me to easily store these on shelves, organize everything I want to organize very easily.
So it's like the manufacturer kind of thought about that for you and
Yes.
sends you the packaging. I know a couple shops that I have walked into, they do consistent reorders for companies, because when you think about why would I want to stock a screen printed transfer, it's really only if the design is repeatable in some way, or if it's letters and numbers that I'm going to be using for team uniforms. So what those shops do is they store it in the box, as you said, but they also store that box with the box of garments that they're going to be applying to where there's never a question about what garments do these transfers line up to, what did they order last time. You don't have to go back. It's all stored together.
Yeah, even taking a photo of the finished garment look before you send it to your customer and placing it on the front of the box is helpful, just so you know this is what I had ordered. Maybe write the number of the item that you printed, so the shirt number or something like that, so you know for reordering easily.
So for those of our viewers who aren't keeping inventory, that 35%, what are some general rules to think about as to when it's time to start keeping an inventory of at least certain items, certain colors, certain materials?
I think there's always a benefit of holding some inventory. I'm not saying you have to hold, from a vinyl perspective, you don't need 25-yard rolls, but certainly being able to have a yard on hand of colors you know you're going to use often, your white, your black, maybe a special effect. So you can easily turn orders if you have somebody who needs just one or two for the vinyl cutter. Screen printed transfer wise, I think there's a big benefit of having a couple of extra transfers on stock. So if somebody comes back and needs an extra t-shirt or something happens in application, you always have those extra ones on hand to do that.
Yeah, it might cost you a little more upfront to order those extra pieces or to keep those items in inventory, but the fact that you can turn around an order of just one, or you can turn it around in a day, gives you the ability to charge potentially rush charges as well if you have those items in stock.
And
so you can
save a
actually
little
add
bit on
revenue.
extra shipping and
Yeah.
everything that you might need to incur if you have to order it real quick to get it in.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about shop organization in general. So most of our viewers are somewhere in the range of, I have an embroidery machine, maybe a single head, maybe multiple heads. I have a heat press for sure. I have potentially a vinyl cutter as well, and maybe also some type of inkjet or laser printing device. So what is the ideal way, or at least the theory, behind setting up your shop for production?
Well, when you set up your shop for production, I think it's making sure things are so you're minimizing steps, so you're maximizing your workflow and where you're placing things. So where your table is in relation to your heat press, so you can quickly grab a garment, place it on, rather than having to walk to the other side of the room, grab your transfer and your shirt, and then back to your heat press. Likewise with vinyl cutting, being able to easily take it off the vinyl cutter, set it on the table right next to it, and start weeding your design, so you're not having extra steps you don't have to.
Yeah, and also depending on your shop size and the number of pieces of equipment you have. For larger shops, especially if you have multiple heat presses, you also might want to think about what would be like cellular production, where you set up your heat printing cell to where the same thing is always coming out of that cell and you have everything that you need, and you have multiple cells throughout your shop that can produce anything. Little things to think about when you're doing that is, do you have enough garbage cans to run multiple cells? Are they at the right places where you're doing your weeding? You have your weeding table potentially, or just a weeding cell. And then some people, rather than go and start to finish in a cell, they set up little departments to where you have your weeding department, your cutting department. Really, it kind of comes down to what you think is best for your shop. We have seen it work well both ways. It really just depends on what your finished product is and how much of that you're doing.
Yeah, and like you said, some shops set them up whatever works best for their workflow and the room that you're in. So if you're in a smaller space, you may find that maybe an L setting with a table and for your preparation for setting up garments, and then your heat press on this direction works best. You may find a back-to-back workflow works a little bit better for being able to quickly turn around, grab garments, and load them on the press.
One of the best little tools that a lot of our folks wear at trade shows is an apron.
I wear that sometimes around here whenever things get crazy and there's lots of weeding, cutting, and transfer preparation. So,
What do you keep in your apron?
weeders, scissors. If I'm doing print cut, I keep a squeegee in there. Anything I want to make sure I don't leave somewhere else. So if I'm weeding designs in one area, being able to keep scissors so I can trim them apart, but also have scissors and a weeder when I'm at the heat press if I need to pick something up that didn't get applied at or didn't get weeded off in the weeding process.
Okay, so I think one last piece of organization that we should talk about. We talked about vinyl, screen print transfers. What about garments? Because at the end of the day, that's what all of this stuff is going on to. So recommendations for garment organization or storing.
Yeah, I mean, if you have extra inventory on garments, I recommend storing them by product type and then also by size, so you're able to kind of see what large t-shirts you have, what medium t-shirts you have. By color is also another great way to do it. So if you have an influx of adult white t-shirts, having them stored by large, extra large, medium, small. Same thing for all the other garments.
And when it comes production time, anything to get them closer to the press is usually better for your operators if you're not doing it yourself. If you are doing it yourself, you're going to save yourself a ton of steps just by getting a small table to put by your heat press that you can load your garments on, and another small table for the items that you're going to be heat applying. All right, anything else you want to cover on organization?
I think that's it.
Okay, hopefully this was a really organized episode for you guys to watch. We try to do things in a particular order. So we do appreciate you watching this morning. Next week, it will be myself and Josh, and I don't remember what we're talking about.
E-commerce, so some
E-commerce.
tips for that, yep.
Okay, so we'll be teaching you about e-commerce, some tips on making the most of an online store for your business. Close this up.
That's it. We'll see you guys. Have a nice Thanksgiving.